British and French armies' crushing and almost instantaneous defeat in 1940, as thousands of German tanks and troop lorries secretly wound their way through the same narrow roads. During the First World War, the town of Spa was the German military headquarters in the fighting's later period. A series of photos taken in 1918 show the last weeks of imperial and aristocratic rule in Germany, as Kaiser Wilhelm II, the Crown Prince, and various generals stand around hobnobbing in their immaculate uniforms in one of Spa's commandeered assembly rooms. It was in these rooms that the Kaiser, hearing about the revolution breaking out in Berlin, appealed to his generals for support, only to find that they no longer trusted their men and could not even guarantee that they would not attack him. Wilhelm panicked and fled to Holland, abandoning the imperial train in case troops took potshots at it, and ending over 8 centuries of Hohenzollern rule. In 1944, the same complex in Spa was, in turn, the headquarters of the US Army, evacuated during the temporary panic that followed the surprise, fog-bound German offensive. I had come to Stavelot partly out of contrition and annoyance that I had not heard of the place before. It turns out to have a sensational museum in its sprawling former abbey, which showed that in the first half of the 12th century it was the only place to be. But Stavelot, once I was there, also showed that I really just had to stop my travelling around for this book. There was effectively no limit to the richness and density of a region that is both the dozy back of beyond and central to the fate of humanity. Here I was in a bus filled with the great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren of those who had experienced historical events of various terrible kinds, and who were, with their jolly backpacks and untiring ability to laugh helplessly when one of their number farted, happily oblivious. My own children were now adults, and I looked back with dismay at the immense amounts of time I had spent away from them, drifting around dozens of Stavelot-like places, face to face with the same question about why European events and ideas have swept through so many places that just wished to be left alone. I have always wanted to write these words, but they are now true. This book is the completion of a trilogy. Germania was a history of German speakers roughly within the modern Federal Republic of Germany. I tried to make it an evenly spread book, but the locations kept being tugged eastwards as I wallowed shamelessly in the tiny towns of Thuringia and Saxony-Anhalt. I then wrote Danubia because I was aware that Germania failed to deal with the Germans of Austria or other points east. Before the 20th century, German culture had spread into the lands across Central Europe, and this opened up several other interests I had, in the nature of competing nationalisms, in the Habsburg family and its many oddnesses, and the Christian-Muslim frontiers that shaped the whole vast region for centuries. As someone who grew up in the Cold War, and was, like everyone, gripped by the discovery of what was, for a generation, a new and previously near inaccessible swathe of ex-communist land, it was easy to take for granted the more familiar Western parts of Europe. Even when writing Germania, I had a dim sense that I had short-changed and not really engaged fully with perhaps the most important motor of all in Europe's development, the lands to the west. I had not noticed them, as they were all just part of the European Union, like the United Kingdom, and simply represented modernity, the present, and a sort of ho-hum banality. And yet even a moment's self-interrogation would have made me realize that the area from the Rhine westwards and the German speakers' relationship with French speakers is the least ho-hum subject it is possible to find. The theme of this book is defined